I want to review with you one of the most outrageous interviews that we've gone over in a really long time. So get ready for that. I do just want to warn you that as I was watching this, I could feel a lot about to burst out of me in terms of rants and thoughts. And so I will do my best to keep my commentary as brief as I can in between clips. I'll walk through a few, and then we'll get to eventually Tommy Tuberville being called out over some of the stuff he said in this, and that's important to see. But I can't even... This is a Republican senator representing Alabama, and the one who was blocking all the military promotions, and also the one who tried to act like New York City was super unsafe because of President Joe Biden, even though Alabama's murder rate is way higher than New York City. So that guy, just to contextualize it. And he's being interviewed, just to further contextualize, by Steve Bannon, who you can add to the very long list of criminals in the orbit of Donald Trump. The New York Times reports a federal judge on Thursday told Stephen K. Bannon, the longtime advisor to former President Donald J. Trump, to surrender by July 1st to start serving a 4-month prison term imposed on him for disobeying a subpoena to give testimony to the House committee that investigated the January 6, 2021 attack on the Capitol. So that's the interviewer. The interviewee is Tommy Tuberville. And here's the first moment.
It's because they're not wanted. And it starts up here in Washington, D.C. I can remember when my first day here in the city was January 6, 2021. We had the protest, and there were no National Guard people. Well, the next day we bring in 25 National Guard people. Nancy Pelosi did, and the first thing they did is they went through all of them and said, "Are you a Trump supporter? If you were, they sent your butt home."
No way.
Oh yeah. And they did not want white supremacists or black supremacists, anybody that believed in our country.
Come closer. Okay. Every single week, millions of people watch the show who aren't subscribed to it. YouTube metrics tells us that's crazy town. So it breaks my heart if I think too long about it. If you're a regular viewer and you do like the show, makes a huge difference just to click that subscribe button and help us continue to grow.
They want you to believe in the federal government, and that's not what this is about. And so
they weeded out the Trump supporters from the National Guard.
Did you hear what he said? They weeded out white supremacists, black supremacists, people who love their country. What is going on? Why would you say such a thing? That's insane. And by the way, he framed it as if there's something wrong about military members making sure that their fellow military members are loyal to the Constitution and not to one individual, Donald Trump, as supporters of that figure had just stormed and attacked the Capitol. So in protecting that Capitol throughout the following days, makes sense. I don't even know if he's being honest about if that even happened, but it makes sense that you might ask, hey, everyone here, you're loyal to the country, right? To the Constitution, to your service, not to one guy, the cult leader. Play a little bit more of this one.
Yeah, sure they did. There was 25,000 of them, and we spent $500 million. We broke, by the way, the National Guard. We bankrupted the National Guard over the country because of Nancy Pelosi's shenanigans of after that. But that being said, we've got a lot of good people. We got way too many flag officers. We're top heavy now. It needs to have a total readjustment.
Okay, and then on to his criticisms of the military. And I'll hold my anger and play this next clip.
That's our problem with the military. We've turned it political, with the gay rights groups and the transgenders and the social justice groups that want to be involved in the military, which I'm fine. But when you go into the military, you go by everybody else's rules that they go by in the military. But
the guy who, for political reasons, exploited his power to block military promotions and significantly harmed, according to military leaders, the preparedness of our military through this hold that he was doing for political reasons as a political stunt, dares to say the military has become so political because of the gay rights groups and the transgenders, his quote.
Everything's kind of coalescent around, what you believe in, what you think of. When you go into, to me, and he would say this, when you go into the military, you go in representing the United States of America. Everybody's got the same rules. You go by the same rules, and you have to build respect. Right now, we don't have the respect that they had back then. He was scared to death, number one, of the people that were his, drill sergeants and things. Can you?
By the way, he's speaking so authoritatively on the military, what needs to change in the military, what's wrong. And remember that he didn't serve in the military, but a bunch of people who were actively serving in the military who were saying, you need to stop this. This is hurting our military and our ability to be prepared in any situation where we're needed. And his response was, I don't think it is. If I thought that it was hurting our military preparedness, military readiness, I would stop doing this. But he kept doing the hold for political reasons to protest abortion policy, and did so despite the people actually giving their life to military service, begging him to stop. And he dares to act like the expert on this subject. Here's more.
Represent politicians. He represents people in our country. And that's the reason he...
Talking about Trump.
He was elected the first time. They recognized that, and that's the reason they cheated him out of the second one, because they knew he represented the people, not the politicians. He will be put back in by the people of this country and not the politicians, and people need to understand that we work for the people. We don't work for politicians, and that's what reason President Trump won the first time. He actually won the second time, but he will win this time, hands down.
Morning, Joe's in.
Can someone explain to me, again, I'll go through it. I know my loyal, regular viewers love you all, but I know this might seem repetitive. But again, the conspiracy theory goes that while Trump was president, he was the most powerful man, not just in the country, arguably in the world. And while he was president, they, the nebulous they, were able to steal an election and do so in a way that prevented even experts and scholars in the field like Tommy Tuberville to struggle to articulate what evidence actually proves the claims that he's making. And they did this stealing operation so effectively that, again, nothing could be uncovered to prove the claims we made. And that was able to happen while Trump was president. Now Biden's president, and because Tommy Tuberville knows that the election wasn't stolen, he needs people to go out to vote to hopefully make Trump win in his mind, without explaining how it makes sense that this election is going to be legitimate if the last one wasn't, because now Biden is the most powerful person in the world. But of course, in reality, the voters don't get this, but the leaders of the MAGA movement, they get it. They get that they're lying to their followers, and they get that our election systems are secure, free, and fair, and they want to win through that democratic process so that maybe Trump can destroy it. Here's a little bit more.
President Trump says this, we better take care of us first, then we can help other people. Right now, we can't help anybody.
The America First is not an isolationist movement, but it's a movement to focus on this country first and our citizens and what the priorities are for our country.
Yeah, we're dead broke. People in this country doesn't know what day it is when it comes to climate change and the inflation going straight up. Everything else that's going on. When we're trying to worry about everybody else, we better start taking care of the American taxpayer and American citizen.
We got about a minute.
What did he just say? The American people don't know what day it is when it comes to climate change and inflation? Tommy. Tub, you are a disaster. Rub-a-tub, Tommy Tub. That's not great stuff there. That's a boof. I'm sorry. What he's saying is, we can't help. This is his obsession because he hates the idea of Ukraine being able to defend themselves. He wants us to withhold aid to Ukraine, and his argument is because we need to be doing things for Americans. And I agree, Tommy, we should do things for Americans. I happen to think we can do both, but do you know who's preventing us from doing things for Americans? You are. It's always Tommy Tuberville voting against, for example, broadband investments that he then takes credit for and tells Alabama citizens that he tries to celebrate those investments to make them think that he is responsible for them. This historic infrastructure law, Inflation Reduction, all these policies he works to obstruct. He'd love to see Medicare, Social Security gutted. And then he dares to say the reason he doesn't think we should support our ally Ukraine as Russia's trying to take them over because we should be helping the very Americans that he's preventing us from helping. Not so fast. Tub. Here is the clip that caused people to respond that prompted backlash.
How many TV clips have you seen of a battle in Ukraine? Zero in the last 6, 7, 8 months. It's one-sided. Putin just kind of sitting back, watching what's going on, wondering, hey, when y'all gonna come over and we'll draw a line here. He doesn't want Ukraine. He doesn't want Europe. Hell, he's got enough land of his own. He just wants to make sure that he does not have United States weapons in Ukraine pointing at Moscow.
Yeah, a couple.
You know what's interesting? I've heard people make really dishonest pro-Putin arguments. A lot. We've reviewed many of them. But it's interesting to watch someone make those sorts of arguments in a way that proves they don't even know what Putin wants. They don't even understand Putin's thinking. Because if you've ever heard Putin talk about this conflict, or just more broadly, Ukraine, he does think Ukraine should be a part of the sort of re-established Soviet Union, right? And he does think it's rightfully Russia's. And that's part of why, in the deranged way that he is, he's attempting to take over part of Ukraine in violation of their sovereignty and slaughtering so many of their citizens. And doing so in a way that has been so much more of a failure on his end than anyone could have expected because of the strength of Ukraine, and in part because of the support from Ukraine's allies, namely the United States. And I think one of the great things that Biden has done is effectively, quickly, and powerfully uniting our allies in support of Ukraine in the way that he has. And at every step, Tommy Tuberville has been pushing nonsense that seeks to undermine that course of action. Now pretending like, oh, Putin doesn't really want Ukraine. That's why he's trying to take it over. Few responses to that. John Cipher, only 80 years separates the greatest generation from the stupidest generation. Okay, respond to that clip. These are not my words, okay? There are other people. Blame them if you think they're too aggressive. Senator Jean Shaheen said, it's a scary state of affairs when a U.S. senator who sits on the Armed Services Committee would rather spew Russian propaganda than listen to our U.S. intelligence. True. Fred Wellman said Russian talking points. This guy is a complete traitor to the United States and our national security. Then you have Alexander S. Vindman, the senator from Moscow, has an opinion. Tommy Tuberville, this is all starting to make sense. Why else would Tubbs hold... Oh my gosh, see? Similar terminology. Why else would Tubbs hold up more than 300 senior military officer promotions for 9 months? Truly. I try not to just say, oh, they're working in the interest of Russia here, but that does seem to make sense with his actions. Tommy Vitor said this man is the definition of a useful idiot. United States Senator, right there. That used to be, and for many more respected individuals, it still is, a position of power that, again, brought with it respect. And now you have Tub, who's making absolutely no sense, being so dishonest, and really getting under my skin. Let me know what you thought of all that in the comments. And if you want to get the Daily Bonus Show, you can do so by clicking the join button below.